Okay.
I will have to hope that you clap because Discord eats claps now.
It sure does.
Alright. So yeah, here's my idea for the little intro thing.
Uh-huh.
What the fuck is up, Autothoughts and Decepticlowns?
I'm into it except for the what the fuck is up part, because I don't want to, plagiarize my other podcast too quickly. How you doing?
There you go. Listen
how
up.
How you doing, Autothoughts and Decepticlowns? Listen up! I like that.
Yes, and obviously we'll have to change it for different factions once we get there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm using Decrons now.
Oh my god.
Destrons, that's what,
right.
Instead of Decepticons.
I am going to stick with the dub names because I refuse to call Smokescreen Grap. Feels weird.
I'm gonna use the sub names for everyone except Optimus, because I cannot call him Convoy. You wanna start us off for episode 0?
Sure.
Two trucks having sex. Two trucks having sex. My muscles involuntarily flex. Two trucks having sex. Two trucks having sex. My muscles involuntarily flex. Two pickup trucks making love, American made.
So, welcome to Prime Cuts, a non-linear history of the Transformers on television. I'm one of your hosts, Nero.
And I'm your other host, Audrey.
And
very quickly, we should probably do pronouns since this is
yes
0. So I use she, her, and they, them pronouns.
And I use they, them. And we're here to introduce this podcast. Sort of. So, Prime Cuts, the history of this podcast is very short. I was complaining on Twitter about the Bay movies and said I could talk for hours about Transformers. And then you said we should make a podcast. And I said,
Yeah. And then we did.
And that's just, it's as easy as that, folks.
Even easier now that we're on Noise Space.
That's right. So, what this show is going to be. Now, we could have done, starting from G1, a chronological exploration of the Transformers franchise as it evolves. But that's boring. That's tired. What's wired is doing it out of order, at random, picking arbitrarily each time we finish a season and or show.
Yeah.
So
we're not going to go totally random. We are going to do entire seasons together
we're not just going
least.
We're not just going to pick, all right, we're doing Beast Wars season 2 next without doing season 1. No.
Right.
But we will alternate who gets to choose. I think you will choose after we're done with Armada here, which, by the way, Armada is our first show. It is an anime though, so it is a full block, no seasons.
Yeah.
So we will be watching the whole thing.
I mean, so Armada's complicated because it's part of a trilogy.
Yes.
So technically it has no seasons, but it is itself almost a season within the larger Unicron trilogy, with Cybertron and Energon being the other 2 seasons.
Before we get into the history of Armada, because I do want to talk a little bit about, every time we start a new show, I want to kind of talk about where it fits into the broader context of the franchise's history. Let's talk about our own personal history with these funny robots.
Yeah, we should probably actually save that for the next episode.
Oh, okay, all right. So
because that's the actual first episode of Armada.
Yes, so we'll save the sort of wider context for Armada next time, but it will be coming, and so yeah, we'll talk about so Transformers is a. When did I think the first time I was exposed to Transformers was actually a Beast Machines McDonald's toy, I think.
That's interesting.
It is. So, Armada was my first show that I actually watched. It was, and I don't think I actually watched it all the way through the first time, upon first airing, because I wasn't actually a huge TV watcher when I was a kid. I like to do other stuff. So by the I think Cybertron might have been the first show I watched all the way through. But Armada was one of the first Transformers show I was actually into, like, consciously. But I had I remember very vividly, I had a Beast Machines McDonald's toy of Jetstorm, I think. One of the Vehicons that I played with a lot. And then later, my parents bought me a Robots in Disguise Grimlock. Now, I did not watch Robots in Disguise. But
you did have great taste in Grimlock.
One of the very few Grimlocks who does not turn into a dinosaur. He's an excavator, I think. I didn't want... Yeah, it's, it's so bad. I hate that they named the 2015 show Robots in Disguise, because now I have to make sure to specify I'm talking about the 2000 Robots in Disguise. 2001 Robots in Disguise, localized from the creatively named Car Robots. Pretty good. And so, yeah, that was like... I was pretty young then, and I didn't really know what a Transformer was or what a TV show was, but I know I liked the toy. But Armada is really where I learned to love Transformers. I had a bunch of Armada toys as a kid. My dad, burned me, DVDs to watch them on with, programmed menus and shit. And that's where I watched a lot of stuff. I remember I had a few blocks of episodes, I think it was 12 through 30 that I watched over and over again, I think.
And did they treat you well?
They did. Those are good episodes. I remember them fondly, at least. That's where we get into some wild stuff. That's where you get Thrust in the mix. Thrust is a very fun character.
I love that they just included Thrust and literally none of the other Seekers.
That's right. It's just Thrust.
Just Thrust!
And there's a throwaway line in the dub later where Starscream mentions Thundercracker, but we'll get to why that line exists when we get there, because it's very funny. Yeah, I also read a bit of the Dreamwave comic that was running concurrently with this show while it was airing. I actually brought a huge stack of the Armada Dreamwave comics for a show and tell in the second grade or something.
That's awesome. I wish I'd had the balls to do that as a kid, and that my parents would have let me.
I think it was wild. The comics are interesting. They're they kind of, we'll talk about it more in the actual first episode. They kind of take a little bit more of the darker ideas behind the mini-cons and put them more at the forefront, which is interesting. And also,
them being sentient creatures, but not being treated like that.
Yes, exactly. It's all about that. Whereas the show just sort of shoves that to the side mostly.
Yeah, they're like house elves. They're no, they love it. Don't worry about it.
And I feel like we will get more about that later, but for the first 3 episodes, as we'll get to, they just sort of say, don't think about it. It's fine. But yeah, that's and then I watched from Armada to Energon to Cybertron, and I was, my love of the Transformers has waxed and waned, but it's always sort of been there, much like some of my other interests, like Yu-Gi-Oh.
I don't know anything about that.
Who could ever make a show about Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yeah,
but,
sounds fake.
My interest picked back up in 2007 when the movie was coming out, and then I loved Transformers Animated, which is still the best television incarnation of Transformers in my opinion. Love that shit. But as of late, I've kind of fallen off on the TV side of Transformers and the comic side. I was way into the 2014 IDW comics, that era, before they rebooted their continuity. And I liked Transformers Prime a lot. I tried the 2015 Rid, and I did not like it at all. I thought it was a bad looking show and it was kind of annoying. I don't want to watch. We will eventually watch the War for Cybertron trilogy, but that is also a very ugly show.
Oh Christ!
It's so ugly.
Rooster Teeth retire, bitch.
Was that them?
Yes, it was.
Are we gonna watch the fucking Machinima shows? The fucking Prime Wars trilogy?
Oh wait, I thought that's what you're talking
about.
No, the ones on Netflix, right?
Yeah, those are different. Those are different shows, somehow. There was a web series in like 2015.
Oh yeah. No, I know what you're talking about.
And
yeah.
then there was the latest one, which is the tie-in to the War for Cybertron trilogy toy line on Netflix.
Right. Yeah. So that one, the one on Netflix was Rooster Teeth.
Oh.
But I also know what you're talking about with the machinima ones. Oh Christ.
That show is very ugly, and I need to get into Cyberverse because that actually looks good.
Cyberverse was fun. Cyberverse I just finished, and it was fun.
Cyberverse gives me some animated vibes, which I dig.
Yeah, there's a lot of genocide.
Ah.
Like a shocking amount of genocide, I would say, in Cyberverse.
Perfect. Wonderful. That's so good to hear.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, that's where I'm sort of at with Transformers. I have quite a few of them in the shelf behind me. Most of them are animated figures, but for a while I was trying to collect all of the Unicron trilogy era toys, but I decided to give up on that because they were getting very hard to find and kind of expensive to find in good condition.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. So, despite being a few years older than Nero, we won't say how many, it's fine. I actually somehow completely missed out on, like, Beast Wars and Beast Machines. Not quite sure how that happened, but, like, not only did I not watch them, they weren't even on my radar. I didn't even know they existed when I was a kid, which is, like, very strange because I was watching Cartoon Network and Toonami, like, during that era.
I don't think they were ever... Were they on Cartoon Network?
I thought they were on Cartoon Network.
I think they were on Fox Kids, I believe.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe I was just so attached to like Toonami and Cartoon Network that I didn't even give Fox Kids like a look and totally missed these things.
Yeah, but I don't think the Beast era ever made it onto Cartoon Network.
But yeah, so this was around when I was 8, which is before the turn of the millennium, and that's all we're going to say about that. I was like conscious of Transformers being a thing. I had a friend who I spent a lot of times with, and we were actually really into Power Rangers, and he had 2 things. He had a huge collection of Bionicles. He had a huge collection of Zoids. And I loved playing with the Power Ranger Zords, rather.
Yeah, I was about to say, they're kind of like... I also remember Zoids a lot. I never watched the show, but man, those toys looked cool as fuck.
Yeah, I did watch Zoids, and I was very into Zoids. But he had like all these sets of Power Ranger Megazords that I insisted on playing with when we were over at his place, way more than he was interested in doing it. And I was like, "Damn! Wow! Cool robot!" And I started being fascinated with, like, robots and combiners sort of through that early experience, but I didn't really connect it to Transformers until way, 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 way later. So when the 2007 movie came out, I watched it, and I was like, this is, like, a fine summer movie. It was fine. I had fun watching it, but it also was not, like, gripping my attention in any serious way. And then I went to college. And while I was in college, I got really into a different TF, Team Fortress. And I was playing Team Fortress 2 a lot. And in 2010, some of the most famous Team Fortress artists, including Deerzu, Makani ... who is now an actual, designer for Valve. She started off by doing, fan art and background design for that. She's the one who created the image of the administrator from Team Fortress 2.
Oh, is she the official comic artist now?
She's one of them, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so she's one of them. She's done, she did, background stuff in Portal 2. Mostly she's working... I looked her up the other day because I was curious because I knew I was going to talk about her here. But she's working mostly on, Dota now.
As everyone at Valve is.
As everyone at Valve is, yeah. So she's working on Dota, but yeah. So there is this huge, fan art community in the TF2 fandom that I was a part of. And in 2010, they all got really into Transformers Prime.
Huh.
I don't know what it was, but they got really into Transformers Prime. And I'm like, all right, well, if all these people who, I like and, have similar taste to me are doing this fan art, I'll check it out. And I fell in love when I was 20 So it took me to get to age 20 to fall in love with Transformers, but Prime did it for me. And specifically, I got both like kin with and also horny for Steve Bloom's Starscream.
There we go. We've
we've
figured it
cracked
out.
the code. We've cracked the code.
Prime is a real solid show. I really like Prime.
Prime's very good. Prime to my my mind is sort of like the synthesis of all the best parts of every other Transformers media leading up to that point.
Yeah, it's like the Transformers show.
Right, like it has Frank Welker and Peter Cullen back in their original roles again. So it has like the iconic voice actors. It has like the much improved CG from Beast Wars and Beast Machines. And it has like the solid like sort of dark humor of animated and like the actually like good plotting of animated. It's just like to me like a very good synthesis of all the other series that came before it. And I think it showed. And so, like, I was obsessed with Starscream, and I'm like, all right, it's time for me to consume 30 years of media now. And then I did that. I went back to G1, and I watched all of G1, and it turns out that I love Starscream as a bastard man in any form.
G1 Starscream is the funniest fucker on the planet.
He's so fucking fun. He has some of the funniest lines that I've ever heard, including my favorite 3-word line ever. She's not so hot. Sorry, 4 words. She's not so hot.
Oh, that's right. She does say that about Nightbird. Oh my god.
Yeah. She's not so hot. It's so fucking funny. I went through. Oh, I forgot to mention. Along the way, so I watched the movie, but Armada was also the first series that I actually watched. That I remember watching, because it was on Toonami.
Oh, right.
It was on Toonami on Saturday nights, and that was, like, the first time I also, like, consciously watched a Transformers show. And was, like, my first introduction to the series, and I relate very heavily to Alexa's journey, through being a normal human girl to being Starscream's girlfriend.
Uh-huh. We'll get there.
So, yeah. But yeah, I watched all of Armada all the way through, and then I think some scheduling stuff happened with Toonami and, Cybertron and, Unicron, but, sorry, Cybertron and Energon, so I don't think I watched all of those the whole way through, but Armada was, like, definitely my first experience, like, actively choosing to consume Transformers media. But anyway, so after Prime, I went through and watched G1. I tried to watch animated, but it was hard for me to get into without Frank Welker and Peter Cullen there. I had like a really tough time adjusting to that.
The voice cast of animated is really interesting because
it's very interesting.
You have David Kaye as Optimus, which is very funny because, of course, David Kaye is most famous for being the best Megatron voice. Talking about Frank Welker's performance as Megatron, I like him a lot in Prime. I think that performance is fucking great.
Yeah.
I do not like G1 Megatron. He's way too, scratchy. I think he lowered it a lot in Prime, where he's much more growly. He's still got the identifiable Megatron voice, but he is, like, way more tolerable.
I think Frank Welker probably enjoyed playing Soundwave more. He's like, this is where I'm going to dedicate my good voice acting, and Absolutely. Megatron gets what he gets.
He gets what he gets, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Animated's voice cast is very interesting. Animated is one of the more idiosyncratic Transformers shows. It has a lot of stuff that's very unique about it, compared to most other shows,
including SpongeBob as Starscream.
Animated Starscream is like I love all Starscream. Starscreams across the franchises are always some good. That's why
he's in. Guess what? That's why he's in more Transformers media than literally any other character.
Is that true? Is he in it more than Megatron?
Yeah, because it's not technically Megatron in Beast Wars and Beast Machine. It's Megatronus.
That's true. It's like a guy who read about Megatron and said, ooh.
But it is Starscream straight up ghost in those.
That's right.
So,
Really,
yeah.
really, Beast Wars Megatron is a Kenny when you think about it.
Yeah, the only the only media he's not in is Rescue Bots.
I want to see Starscream show up in Rescue Bots.
It'd be pretty good. Someone should have been able to do it. It'd be like the IDW Christmas special.
Oh man, yeah. So yeah, that's you're Prime, I'm animated.
Yeah,
but we can get
also at that same time, I started reading the IDW 1 comics as well, which are, I would say, probably at this point my primary fandom for Transformers. It's either like the IDW G1 comics or like G1 itself. I really think G1 is just so fucking funny.
It's hilarious. It is a terrible show, but it is so funny.
It is so funny, and it is so cheaply made.
It is something that it shares in with a few other shows, including maybe the one we're going to be talking about soon. But yeah, the IDW comics, obviously, we won't actually be talking about them here because they weren't on TV, but we'll be talking about them frequently because they're the best shit.
And who knows? Stay tuned if we ever get a Patreon.
You know, speaking of Armada Starscream, there's that first Windblade solo series where they have him in the Armada body because there was a toy on the shelf. And I gotta tell you, the lady who drew that...
Miss Sarah Stone, I have feelings for your robot drawings.
She wanted to fuck Starscream so badly. You know what? Good on you. That Starscream, man. I mean, IDW Starscream in general is just also extremely good.
Yeah. I'm very much into, not to talk about this too much, I'm very much into Guido Guidi's Starscream in the comics, because those thick thighs save lives, baby.
He was the one who, was it Guidi or
Miss Thickums?
Was someone else who was, no, it's not, was it Guidi who drew the, like, weird live action G1 hybrid stuff in, like, around, like, 2008, was it?
Oh, I have no idea. I just know I just know his his IDW1 comic art.
Yes, we should also talk about who our favorites overall are, and that's going to be hard because Transformers is this vast, sprawling franchise that is constantly reinventing itself, and you know,
and its characters. As we talk about Armada, I mean, we're talking about like the differences. I'm going to be using the Japanese names, and Nero's going to be using the English names because I'm watching the sub, which is a fun new experience for me. Something I haven't done. And
I'm experiencing the classic 4Kids dub, which, as far as 4Kids dubs go, it's not the worst.
Yeah,
it's all right.
But the names there, I mean, these are completely different characters.
Yeah,
in both versions than other versions of their characters.
We'll talk a little bit about it next time when we actually start the show, but like, this was the era where Hasbro was basically saying we should reuse these names, which is the thing they would start doing frequently. However, later, reusing the G1 names usually brought with it a character who is more reminiscent of that G1 character. And this, they're really just throwing whatever at the walls.
They Thog don't care.
They're just trying to keep those fucking trademarks. It does not fucking matter.
Yeah.
So yeah, who is my overall favorite? And I'm trying to, like, obviously I could just say Starscream, but I don't even know if that's really true. I love Starscream.
I mean, I will come out and say very, very firmly that Starscream is my favorite in every continuity. I've never not loved the Starscream.
And it's like, I guess if I had to choose, like, overall, across continuities, what is a character I really like no matter where, it's probably Starscream. But I have much greater love for certain incarnations of other characters, particularly IDW Cyclonus. That's my shit. I love IDW Cyclonus. I really, really like animated Ratchet. I think they really were pioneers when they said, what if Ratchet was like a crotchety old bastard with a heart of gold? And then that was the Ratchet you got forever after that, and it's good.
Yeah, it is really good.
It was like, what if we just made Ratchet into Bones from Star Trek? You know what?
But, like, even older.
Yeah, even older. And it works. It's so hard because there's so many different incarnations of characters that I love. But I think perhaps maybe this is more attached to a voice actor, but the character I love the most is whenever David Kaye is playing Megatron.
Yeah, okay.
David Kaye's different Megatrons are so good. He is like Frank Welker was metallic screeching and very much like 80s cartoon villain. David Kaye's Megatrons always have this camp about them, no matter what series he's in. Yeah. It's just the voice he uses. And like
a level of sophistication.
Yeah, he is not the cackling villain of G1. He is a much more like mastermind and like always making plans and he's just got this sense of coolness that some other Megatrons don't.
Yeah.
Plus the voice is sexy.
Voice is sexy.
Yes. And so I will be glad to sit around with David Kaye's Armada Megatron for this first grip here.
Yeah, I mean, Starscream across the board is like my favorite character. I've always loved him. Particular shout outs to G1 animated and Prime Starscream.
All very similar in terms of their classic Starscreamness, as in they just want to usurp shit.
And when I say G1, I also mean IDW G1 as well, yeah. Who IDW, again, we're not going to talk that much about IDW in the following episode, so I kind of feel comfortable talking about it a lot here. Mm-hmm. But the comics do something very interesting with Starscream, which is they actually, for once, give him what he wants.
Yes.
And then he has to live with now being the leader of an entire planet, which is not what he was sort of expecting it to be. And also he's going crazy / seeing the ghost of someone he may have helped kill. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
IDW Starscream is great. All of his stories are like they're like Cybertronian political thrillers, and they work way better than they have any right to. Yeah. I love all of that shit with IDW Starscream. G1 cartoon Starscream is like this shrill, bumbling idiot who is just constantly saying the funniest shit in the world. And if literally at one point Megatron falls over and he just declares himself leader of the Decepticons.
Yeah, I mean, it happens every 2 minutes.
He gets back up a minute later.
I know.
It's so good. Animated Starscream is more successful than most, but man, he loves to talk. And he's the most egotistical Starscream, which is really saying quite something.
The best part about almost every version of Starscream is that he's wearing booty shorts that say "Primus won't let me die." So, despite he's immortal in more versions than he's not.
Yeah, there was an episode of the original show where he came back as a ghost. And that was just like a throwaway plot that someone did in the 80s, probably just half mad
octane.
On cocaine. And but that is an aspect of his character that has been picked up again and again. The idea of, well, he has some sort of thing about him, whether it be like a aberrant
has an outlier ability.
He can just
as
die.
Some canons call it.
Yeah, he can die and come back. And there's an extremely good bit of that in animated that we'll talk about. Yeah,
I mean that is the crux of his character in animated.
And Prime Starscream, he's something else. I don't know. There's so much going on with Prime Starscream.
Stupid, sexy Prime Starscream.
He's got stiletto heels.
He does. I have no idea what they were thinking when they did the design for Prime Starscream, but
he shoves his hand in. He's got claws, perfectly manicured claws, and he shoves his hand into someone's chest in the first 7 minutes of the show.
Yeah.
Wild and out, Prime Starscream is.
But anyway, yeah, so he's my favorite. I also have a very large fondness for G1 Wheeljack. I love G1 Wheeljack. I think it's so funny what they do with his character in other series, which has just, like, nothing. Like, again, Nero, you mentioned how, like, after Armada, like, starting with Animator or whatever, all the versions of the characters that we see sort of relate back to their G1 selves. That is not the case for Wheeljack.
Yeah, no, Prime Wheeljack is just a different guy.
Just a completely different person, as is, like, as is Wheeljack in Armada. There's a...
Yes.
So as is Wheeljack in Armada. Like, these are completely different characters from G1. But G1 Wheeljack just makes my heart smile so much. He's a mad scientist. Like, that's it. He's just like a mad scientist who works for the Autobots.
There are so many episodes of G1 that are just, the plots are driven by, Wheeljack made a really fucked up thing that the Decepticons stole. He
and his husband Ratchet made dinosaur robots and then purposely didn't give them enough intelligence to, like, control themselves because he read in a museum that dinosaurs had tiny brains. Like, this is an incredible character. Absolutely phenomenal. I love Wheeljack very much.
The character design of G1 Wheeljack is great. I love the light up ears that he has because he doesn't have a fucking mouth.
The finials!
Yes. Yeah, so G1 Wheeljack is great. I mean, I quite like, I already said, IDW Cyclonus, very good. IDW Whirl.
Have you watched the Dr. Smooth videos?
I have, yes. I have.
All I can think about when you said about videos was, how would you like a mouthful of liquid nitrogen? I don't even have a mouth, you asshole.
Oh, G1 Soundwave, I have a large fondness for him in many incarnations, especially the G1 IDW Soundwave.
Yeah, I mean, Dad of the Year. Though unclear in the comics if he's Dad of the Year or Son of the Year. I think he was adopted by Ravage, actually.
Yeah,
he just
it's
lives
hard
in
to
his
tell.
chest.
It's really hard to tell sometimes. It's like, it's sort of it's just a found family of one robot and a bunch of little animals that turn into cassettes.
Yeah, it is confirmed though that Rumble and Frenzy are Soundwave's sons in the comics because Starscream makes a comment, I hate his shitty kids.
Yeah, they're his little shithead sons who want to go to McDonald's. Like, that is absolutely who they are. Ravage is a bit more, sophisticated. And then there's Ratbat, but that's a whole different situation in the IDW comics.
Yeah, fuck, buddy, it sure is. Woof!
So yeah, I'm sure if you should take away anything from this episode 0, it should be, go read the IDW 1 continuity, it's good. Well, the back half of it is. The first half, written by Simon Furman,
is fine.
Is
the
questionable.
First half is fine.
Yeah, the first half is fine, and then Simon Furman says, I have ideas about women.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Say, uh-oh. Oh, no.
Hey, yeah. Uh-oh. Simon Furman's still being allowed to write. Why is that happening?
Don't worry, they fix that later, though. They say, no, we're going to ignore what you did. We're going to do our own thing. And he was mad about that, if I remember correctly. He was extremely mad online when More Than Meets the Eye introduced other female Transformers.
Yeah, well,
fucking pissed.
Gender is torture.
Stay mad, Simon.
Okay.
Is there anything else we need to cover here in episode 0? Other than read IDW 1, look up a picture of Prime Starscream, and then look up like a video clip of him, because I promise he doesn't sound how you think he does.
Yeah. As someone who is very used to Steve Bloom's career, and has watched him in dubs for quite a long time, I would say that turning on TF Prime and hearing Prime Starscream was a shock.
It is. You know, he's very typecast ever since he got cast as Wolverine. Like, he's the gruff guy, because that's kind of what he sounds like.
I think since Cowboy Bebop. Oh
yeah, since Cowboy Bebop probably, but like Prime Starscream is not a gruff guy in any sense of the word.
No, he's very much not.
Oh man, I just remembered his his sort of tete-a-tete with not tete-a-tete, what is it? What am I saying to say? His I forgot how words work. Knockout, Prime Knockout.
Yeah.
Their weird rivalry.
Their real rivalry about which one of them can be more explicitly homosexual.
The answer is Knockout. The answer is Knockout.
Knockout
wins every time.
It is Knockout, who is, I want everyone to imagine this, voiced by the same guy who voices Timmy Turner's dad in the Fairly...
Oh, that's right, it is the same guy.
Yeah. So, just imagine him as a very flamboyant sports car, and that's Knockout, who's also, like, a surgeon, not by training, but by circumstance.
Prime, I can't wait to get to Prime. Prime is so good. But yeah,
Prime's so good.
we'll get there. First, we have to talk about Transformers Armada next time here, which is...
Yeah.
I still hold a place in my heart for it.
Listen, it's a series.
It is a show. So, what is the outro for this show? I guess we should do plugs too, right?
Yeah.
It's episode 0. This is going to be its own standing thing. Behind the curtain, we're recording both in the same day, but we're recording this one first as a little opener, as a little appetizer. It's like the bread at a steakhouse.
An aperitif.
Yeah, eat the bread, but don't fill up on bread. So we're on Noise Space, which is cool. XYZ.
Yes. Thank you, Matt, for hosting us on Noisepace, which you can find at noisepace.xyz. You can find us, Prime Cuts Pod, on Twitter. We should, I think, in the episode descriptions, and I'm going to put that as our website on Twitter, have a permanent link to our Discord.
Yes,
which you should join.
I took so many screenshots from episode 3 of Armada, because there's some interesting looking things in that episode.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
And I personally am Audrey. You can find me on Tumblr, Twitter at Optimum on Prime, which is, I can finally talk about it, my funny robot internet joke.
Damn,
there
it's
it
true.
is.
It's finally fitting.
It's finally, it all comes full circle. You can also listen to the other podcast, which is also on the Noisepace.xyz network, Pot of Greed, which is a Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast, and I don't have any other projects in making at the moment, but if you're interested in hearing more from me potentially in the future, you can follow at The Reticulation as well. That's TheReticuLation on Tumblr, Twitter, and Facebook for updates about a website I'm trying to launch with a good friend of mine to uplift and spotlight LGBT voices in the realm of pop culture criticism.
And I'm Nero. You can find me on Twitter at DragonSmoocher. It's a lot of Final Fantasy these days. I have a few other projects. One, that just recently wrapped up. You can go to at Podcast of Power on Twitter to hear me and my friend Jane's show about the 2018 She-Ra animated series on Netflix. An extremely good show, by the way. We did a whole deep dive critical analysis on that. We've just put up our finale episode. I'm going to be putting up the email wrap up after that, and we are done with that. I am also on Disney Minus at Disney Minus Pod, where I just talk shit about some Disney movies on Disney Plus. Just recorded one on The Lion King 2. Not a good film, but as far as straight to video Disney movies go, it's not the worst. There's a
I hear there's a sexy lion.
There's like a sexy emo bad boy lion in it.
Yeah.
Voiced by Max Goof, which was very distracting.
Yep. I was literally just having a conversation about this with my friends last night.
It's so fucking funny. That movie really was made for like 12-year-old scene girls in like 2002. And an upcoming project that I have that will be starting up sometime early next year. Jane and I also decided to follow up our She-Ra show with a holistic look at Final Fantasy XIV, a critical analysis of the entirety of Final Fantasy XIV from Realm Reborn through Endwalker. Almost 10 years of storytelling. And we will be starting that up after Endwalker comes out this November. And that can be found over at Radio Free Heidelin on Twitter. That's not the ad. The ad is at Heidelin Radio. which is spelled H-Y... I'm doubting myself. Hang on. I was about to spell it, and I was like, is that how you spell it? Hydaelyn radio.
There you go.
That always trips me up. But yeah, that's going to be starting up soon. Final Fantasy XIV, good game, very long. Bad game, very long. It's a land of contrasts, really, when you think about it.
It contains multitudes.
It does contain multitudes. So yeah, that's where I'm at over there. So follow me over on those places, if you would like.
And I was thinking for us signing off, we could do something like, I'm gonna, go something, transform and roll out.
That's right. But how do we lead into transform and roll out?
But that's what I'm saying, is that, it would change, it's sort of like...
Right.
How Pod agreed that, where it's like, I'm gonna go gaze at my Starscream Dakimakura, transform and roll out.
I am going to go... My brain is, sluggish today.
Peach!
Peach. All right.
We can stop there if you'd like.
Yeah.
All right.